Hey there, guys. Sorry about my voice. I have a little sore throat, but this is the say epiphany that I got to film this video. Sorry about more rusty voice once again. So this is going to be a ranty one, so we might want to skip it out. But I do believe that this is more or less informative and I wanted to talk about GX and its trunk capacity, along with the third row. So, as you probably know or not, don't, I bought GX, and one of my main reasons for why I did it and didn't went for Forerunner was that it had third row seats as a standard. So, as I was searching for it on the used market, I was always aware that no matter which type should I choose to buy, being it base model, premium, or luxury, all of them would have the third row seat. Whilst the Forerunners, only certain SR5 versions did. And as you know, SR5 version is the inferior version of the Forerunner. Most of them you want to find do not really have a true four-wheel drive. They are not TRD Pro-ish in terms of luxury or capability or off-road, TRD off-road-ish as well. And of course, Forerunners have six cylinders instead of um, our lovely eight. So yeah, again, I had a tangent there. The main reason was that I wanted to third row seat. Why? Well, because my family is more or less quite large right now. I have two kids, and if I and my wife are traveling somewhere, that only leaves one extra space for additional person. So it means that we cannot take our friends or parents, like my parents or her parents with us. And that was a big drawback for my previous vehicle, which was, as you probably also know, RX. And thus, I wanted something which was going to be more flexible. Of course, the third row takes extra space, which you cannot use traditionally as a cargo area, but it like gives you that peace of mind that if you have a situation where you need to transport two extra individuals, you are able to do so. So that was the basic reasoning. As you know, if you deploy the third row, the back of the chair is going to be quite close to the trunk. The space between the trunk's interior and the rear side of the chair is going to be about 10 centimeters, like this long, more or less. This means that, sorry, this means that, well, of course, the rear side of the vehicle is more protected because most of your speed is going to be directed forwards. So basically, any collision that might occur will be first hitting the front part of your vehicle. But again, there is a chance that something will hit you back whilst you are abruptly stopped. So the rear third row caused or creates causes or creates these dangers also. Say the closeness of the trunk means that there is a few quite small amount of buffer zone that can cushion a possible impact and prevent damage to the individual who is located seated in the rear. So I wanted to have a plan to introduce in that sense. And this plan has several tentacles. That's why I wanted to have a separate video, which is going to be a ranty because it is tough for me to explain these parts of this plan easily. So it consists of three things. First one is creating extra layers inside the truck itself. The second is creating extra layers outside of the truck. And the third is reinforcing the truck's bases, chassis by itself. Let's start from the easiest one and most common. And probably if you have luxury or premium variants of different years, you might already have this step covered. And I'm talking about the hitch mount. My GX was 2017 model, which came without hitch mount. It only had the bracket on which you could mount the hitch. I went and bought the Chinese cheap version, $50 worth, which is like this size, and it is class 3, I believe, which means that it will tow 5,000 pounds and cope 500 pounds as a vertical force directed downwards. It had four bolts. Sorry. But later, I thought about this idea and ditched this cheap version and went and bought the original but used um, the OEM Class 4 hitch, which has the four main bolts which will carry the most of the weight. But also it has four additional, two on each side on each end, which connects lower on the frame, and four additional accessory smaller bolts which connects to the ends of this hitch. So again, if you have this already mounted, then it won't be any news for you. But if you do have a base model, I highly recommend, if you want to go with my plan, to give it a try. Uh, Locally, I got it quite cheaply. It was like north, or I should say south of $120, used in quite a good condition. So I was quite happy with it. It took a long time to mount it because my frame was bent, so I had to do some modifications with it. But the end result gives me several benefits. I wanted to mention that, yeah, this hitch has several drawbacks. One is the fact that it protrudes, it destroys your departure angles, it destroys your capability to access the spare tire or anything in that matter rear of your vehicle, because it lowers the base of your vehicle, so to say, and it also kills some space inside, and it connects and touches your spare tire even more than the base frame of the vehicle, so which makes it harder to fit in larger tires if you do have those. So why is that good idea? The benefit is, for me at least, that now basically I have doubled the strength of the rear frame. My vehicle was in an accident, and the hit destroyed basically the rear bumper and crippled the trunk as well. So basically, I needed to change both of them. I bought it used from the Copart side and needed to change both of those details, or parts, should I say? I should say. When I examined the frame, it was bent, but it was bent only, or the majority of the damage was only on the rear frame. It has the no bendings or protrusions on the side walls of it. So basically, it more or less translated in my mind that if something hits your vehicle, it's going to first damage the contact side of the frame it or the surface it touches. Now, if that surface is now reinforced with a nice ring of extra inches of steel, it means that if something hits your vehicle, the deformation is going to be much lower. Thus, it will transition on a lesser damage to the rear passengers of your third row seats. Another great idea thing, I should say, which GX gives you, is the fact that your the rear seats, the third row seats, are mounted higher up than the traditional first and second row. So basically, if a vehicle hits, if it is if it is not a truck, large semi, if it's a normal SUV, the front part of the SUV is most likely going to not even be in line of the passengers that will be sitting above the surface of the front hood of the vehicle. So all the damage is going to be concentrated below the passengers. That's a good thing, of course. Extra thing I wanted to mention. All right, so basically, I have already talked about this third thing I already mentioned, which is if you do not have the H mount, I do really offer you to consider if you want to, like me, minimize the risks for the third row seats, especially considering that most likely you are going to keep those seats for kids because they will be feeling much more comfortable than adults on long trips. I do prefer that place, despite being a quite safe place in a frontal collision. I'm afraid of the rear collision, so I want to keep that space as safe as possible. So the third element I have already covered, which is this class 4 OEM large, not cheap Chinese, but large OEM Japanese big steel hitch mount, which now also allows you to have a basket. What is a basket? It's not a trailer, but it is a basket shaped, rectangular shaped basket, basically, which I will link down into below as well. Here you can see the picture of what this is and what it looks like. I bought it from Amazon about 150 US dollars. It was. It came with the bag, which also can be mounted on this basket, which will give you a space where you can keep things that you do not want to be exposed to the sun or rain directly. But this basket I mostly want for some trip type of things, right? Like I don't know, luggage, bags, and stuff like that. But as it says, it can carry more or less 500 pounds, which is the exact amount your hitch or my hitch and our hitch, if you have them, are rated for. My basket is has this limb between, which basically has the split connection. It can be lifted up like this. If you're not using it, it serves as a big, like steel bumper on the rear butt on the rear. So it acts as kind of a shield, extra shield. But if you're using it, then when it is deployed, then you have much larger buffer zone. So if anything happens, and if any vehicle hits you from behind, it first has to squish all this steel construction, which will be the basket, all the contents inside, and then touch your hitch and transfer all its power, or should I say kinetic or potential energy into your vehicle. So this basket basically creates a large, almost a meter long space, extra space where there is a steel construction which can squish, which can deform, thus diminish the force and make a probable crash much safer in that manner. Extra bonus this basket provides, which is the primary benefit, of course, is an extra space. If you deploy the third row, if you deploy two of them, both of the chairs, it means that you have no space in your trunk. The space basically will be like 11 square cubic feet or something like this, very low. And for my case, as you have already seen, probably, maybe not, I have some things mounted on my trunk barn door, which basically eats up all that space. So if I have the third row up, then probably there is nothing else left to be kept there besides the carpet, which I have for the undeployed third row for the trunk location. So it means that if your third row is deployed, it means that now probably you are carrying not five, but seven people. Thus, your trunk space now has to cope not to five passengers, but seven. So basically, if you are carrying five passengers, you have 100% of your trunk space available. But if you are carrying 7 people, now you have like 10 or 20% of your trunk available. For me, even lower than that, 0%. What does it mean? You have to somehow come up with extra space to keep your luggages, right? For me, this basket is an excellent idea. A place where I can keep this extra luggage, my luggage, and this extra two persons' luggages inside. Basically, if we are going somewhere, it doesn't mean that my GX turns into a van which can only carry 7 people, nothing else. I have this basket where I can keep some stuff, and also my roof rack is available, at least one half of it, where I can additionally keep 20 square feet of things which I have available through my roof bag, which is actually another additional excellent idea. I have had roof bags, two of them in my career for many years now. The first one I got when I had RX. I have used it several times. It was a nice addition. And now I had 15 square feet one, and for GX I bought the 20 square feet one, which I keep inside the above box, as you probably already know, in order to have it available anywhere I go. If I have to carry 7 people where I have no access to the basket, then can deploy this 20 square feet of extra area on my trunk, not trunk, but the roof rack, and I can keep their luggages there. And of course, you can keep luggages inside the cabin if you have an emergency, if you want to carry 7 people. It doesn't mean that they have to be all comfortable, but yeah, extra space is of course always quite good. So that was the second defense in my defensive shield of third row passengers. And the first one, which I wanted to discuss, is this interior space, which I have transitioned or translated into Victory 4x4's rear trunk barn door mounted table. This table is mounted on the plastic side, basically. It is constructed with steel and aluminum alloys, different parts with different materials. Not very thick, of course, but if you look at the basic barn door material, which is quite thin sheet metal, it actually adds twice of thickness, which probably, I'm not saying that I'm an expert, but it means that it can, again, create an extra layer of shield for your trunk against some puncture forces. If some kind of rebar goes through it, or some other vehicles, some part goes through it, it will be harder to penetrate through the sheet metal, the plastic part, and now into through the Victory 4x4's table, where whilst it is not deployed, thus it has like two layers, I believe, two layers of materials. One is a solid base of the table, and there is a moly panel at the back side of it as well. And then also I have additionally mounted some extra things there on it, which I now use not as for a safety. The safety is the secondary effect. The primary one is that I wanted some space or some place inside my trunk where I wanted to keep things which one I'm not very comfortable with keeping outside of the vehicle, i.e., on the boxes up there, like electronic things, and two things that I wanted to be available inside the truck itself without need to have a key and unlock it on top and so on. Things like this is, of course, the tire inflator, uh, car jump starter, some flashlights, some other electronics, OBD tester, fire extinguisher, water, and things like this. This layer creates, again, additional cushion, which now will fill the void, which will be presented by this space between the chair and the rear end, where you can also put your carpet of your main trunk door, and it will be all the cushions and space filled up with stuff which will act as a cushion and prevent, or should I say, diminish or decrease chances of injury to your third row passengers. So hopefully I have explained everything as well as I could on my ranty video, which I do not unfortunately do not have unfortunately I do not have good experience in delivering. Probably I will not edit it and I will keep it. I think it went quite well. I just want, oh God, I spent 25 minutes talking. All right, so at the end, I wanted to mention, or should I say, compile everything once again together, what I talked about and why. Again, my idea for GX is to keep it as a hybrid vehicle. The vehicle which I can use on everyday drives, transport myself and my family members on the things they want to go, that need to go, schools, I know, workplaces, stuff like that. But also to have it as a getaway vehicle, like go on camping trips, go on glamping trips, or on vacations, or on hotels, on places like this. So basically, I want my GX to be available to carry as many people as possible at the same time because I want and always like to spend, despite being an introvert, to spend my time with not only family but an extended family as well, like my parents, my wife's parents, our friends, and so on. So I wanted this third row to be available in my vehicle in case that I have to transport some extra individuals. And basically, having third row means that most likely, if the trip is quite long, you're going to tell your kids to get there. Basically, of course, it is a quite safe spot. If the collision, hopefully, it never happens, but if God forgives, and God forbid, it still happens frontally, it is the safest place. But if something hits you back on the rear, then it is not because it is quite close to your trunk door. Thus, I have this plan where in three different stages on three different upgrades, I can first uh, create some buffer zone in between the probable danger and the third row. Second, create an extra buffer zone which will extend the vehicle connecting point on the rear more or less by a meter. And the third will be to reinforce the vehicle's rear end to diminish the amount of deformation it will exhibit, at least marginally, if something bad happens. So that was the basic three steps I did for my vehicle, and I really urge you to do so. It is not, of course, only linked to GX, but foreigners as well. You can do the same for foreigners if you have SR5 and you want your third row to be as safe as possible. Maybe there are other things that I can do that you have done and you want to share that experience. I will be very helpful to receive them. And yeah, basically that was it. Hopefully it was more or less interesting for you, gave you some insights. I will again, of course, link every um, thing that I have mentioned in this video. The Victory 4x4 table, the hitch mount, if you do not have them, of course, and cargo basket and the cargo bag, which is not linked to this, but still an amazing bike. So basically, yeah, that was it, and see you in another one. Bye bye.